Happy Women in Horror Month. I'm Kate Jonez. I'm going to share with you my story Carnivores, which appeared in my collection Lady Bits. Hope you enjoy. Francie is mostly fine. By Friday, if she's careful, she'll be able to get the lights cut back on. She'll have to make more in tips than normal. If that fails, she can shortchange the cash register. She's not proud that she does that, but she's not going to call her mother, because her mother will go on and on about how Francie would be better off if she came back home to Fayetteville. Even though her apartment has cardboard in one of the windows where glass should be, and roaches that won't leave, no matter how much they're poisoned, and permanent mold in the bathtub, and is crappy by anyone's standard, it's 100 times better than sleeping in the park. Everybody, even people who are nobody, think it's just fine to mess with a girl who sleeps in the park. Francie likes that the apartment is all hers, even if she only has one chair, and the lock on the door is a padlock she put there herself. It probably doesn't even qualify as an apartment technically, but Francie isn't going to turn the landlord in. Probably they shouldn't be renting to an underage person anyway. The apartment isn't so bad. For a while in the morning anyway, until the dryers and the laundromat get going, there's nothing as hot as Houston in summer over a laundromat. Francie fills a cup and trickles it over the Venus flytrap she bought at the Dollar General. She put a fly in its mouth about a week ago, but nothing much has happened. Her mother tells her she shouldn't get a dog because she can't even keep a houseplant alive. Francie is better at taking care of things than her mother even knows. Francie waters the plant every day, but the leaves are beginning to droop. She nudges the pot with her hip. She feels a little twinge as she watches the plant sail through the air and smash into the alley below. She doesn't feel bad for more than a second, though. What she really wants is a dog. Today is Francie's day off. She stuffs her work apron, 2 pairs of jeans, and all the panties she can find into her backpack. She unzips the cushion of the overstuffed chair and reaches into the opening she cut in the foam. She pulls out her money and peels off a 20. It'll make the electric harder to pay, but whatever. She's got to eat and do wash, right? She stuffs the money back in its hidey hole and zips the cushion closed, then heads out the door with her backpack slung over her shoulder. The light is hazy, like it wants to rain, but doesn't have the energy. There's a salty, fishy smell in the air, even though it's 2 bus transfers and more than an hour to the ocean. The fake flower smell of dryer sheets from the laundry machines almost drowns it out. The brown dog with the gray muzzle and no collar noses around the laundromat dumpster. "Hey, brown dog," Francie calls to him. He's not the kind of dog who gets a name. He's not a pet kind of dog. He lopes over and gives Francie a sniff. She squats down and scratches behind his ear. He's a nice enough dog, even though his breath smells like ass. She'll probably get him a hamburger or something later. A gold car pulls into the parking lot of the laundromat. It's got that pearly look to the gold paint that expensive cars have. It doesn't fit in at the laundromat. The car pulls into a parking space and just sits there. The door doesn't open or anything. Francie decides to ignore it. It's none of her concern if some rich person wants to park their car in a crappy neighborhood. She goes inside and dumps her clothes in a washer. A shadow passes over her. and she looks up. "Hey," a man says. He's good-looking in that way that sometimes people's dads are good-looking. He's got a tan like he meant to, not like he got it from working, and he carries a shiny leather briefcase. He doesn't have a laundry basket or soap or anything. Maybe he owns the place. Maybe that's why he's here. There's always a chance. "Hey," Francie says to be polite. That's what any human being would do, but she doesn't want to encourage a guy who's old enough to be someone's father. The man passes by. Her clothes will be fine for a while, Francie thinks as she leaves the laundromat. If anyone wants to steal her work apron and a bunch of used panties, they probably need them more than she does. She waits for a break in the traffic and sprints across the street, then ducks under the yellow and green canopy that shades the rows of tables on the patio at the taco place. The working guys drinking beer from bottles ogle her a bit as she steps up to the window. Not a lot of white girls come here for lunch. Francie feels kind of weird, like her head is too big for her body. It's not so bad. In a minute, everyone will go back to their business. Francie orders the tacos de conejo because it's the cheapest thing. Someday, she plans to look that word up in the dictionary and find out what she's eating. She gives the guy 20 and asks for $2 in quarters. He comes back with her change and a cardboard boat with the tacos. "Here you go, Rosita," the old guy who works at the window says. That isn't her name, but he calls her that every time. Francie doesn't hate it. She finds an empty table and sits with her back to everyone. As she unwraps her tacos, she begins to make a mental list of the kind of dogs she'd like to have in descending order. "Hey," a voice comes out of nowhere. Francie jumps and looks around. The guy from the laundromat sits down next to her. He places his briefcase on the ground between his feet. "Didn't I just see you at the laundromat?" He grins really big, like he knows her already. "Did you forget about your clothes?" "Nope." Francie scoots her chair over so they aren't sitting so close. She thinks about picking her nose so he'll leave her alone, but she doesn't. She does take a big bite and chew with her mouth open, though. The old guy at the window gives Francie a concerned look. Francie shrugs to let him know it's okay. It's probably okay. "So, I bet you're wondering what it is that I want to talk to you about," the man says. His smile hasn't faded. It's not a bad smile. His teeth are nice and white. "Yep," Francie says. A sprinkle of lettuce falls on her shirt. "I'm Edward, by the way." He holds his hand out to shake. Francie ignores it for as long as she can stand it, but the guy doesn't relent. Finally, she gives in and shakes his hand. It's warm and a little damp. Thanks to her, it's greasy now. Francie isn't all that hungry anymore. She picks the meat out and wraps it up in paper for the brown dog and stuffs the package in her pocket. "I've got something I want to show you." Edward says this like he thinks Francie's gonna like whatever it is. Francie's pretty sure that she is not. To her surprise, Edward leans down and grabs his briefcase. He places it on the table and opens the latches with a click. Looking from side to side, he whispers, "Just take a peek. I don't want everyone to see." He opens the briefcase just a crack. Inside, there are rows and rows of bundles of bills. With that kind of money, Francie could get any kind of dog she wanted. She could get more than one. Edward closes the briefcase. "I want to give you that money," Edward whispers in her ear. "What for?" "I want to hire you." Edward barely breathes the words. It's clear to see he's excited by what he's saying. There's a tremor in his voice. Can we go somewhere and talk? Francie studies him for a minute. He could be a father to a girl just like her. He could be a soccer coach or a math teacher or a pastor of a church. He could have been a nice man if that's what he wanted to be. Maybe he is a nice man, and maybe he's not. He's not dangerous, although maybe he wants to be. My apartment's across the street, Francie says. She wonders how long he's been watching her. Francie gets up from the table. She might like to have 3 dogs and maybe a rabbit. Would the dogs eat the rabbit? Maybe animals can be trained to go against their nature. Or maybe she'll keep the rabbit in a hutch. She makes her way out from under the awning and waits at the curb for a break in the traffic. She darts across. Edward takes a minute to gather his things. He has to wait for the traffic to clear again, which gives Francie enough time to run away. She's not gonna run away, though. She's just playing the game. By the time she gets to the door of her apartment, he's by her side. Francie slips the padlock through the hasp and spins the wheel. You don't have any furniture, he says, looking around the room and trying to hide his distaste. The threadbare carpet and old-fashioned wallpaper probably don't look all that appetizing to someone who's used to nicer things. I have a chair, Francie says. You can sit in it if you want. That's okay. Edward plops down on the floor and sits with legs crossed. Sit, he pats the floor next to him. I want to tell you about the job. He clicks the latches on the briefcase and flips it open. Some of the bundles are 20s, others are 100s. There's no guarantee they're the same all the way through, but still, this is the most money Francie has ever seen in one place. She'd definitely like to have this money. In a corner of the case, there's a bag that closes with a zipper. That's the thing to watch. Edward grabs the zippered case like he's going to open it. Then he puts it down again. Did you ever want to be an actress? No, Francie says. That's the absolute last thing she ever wants to be. She hates when people look at her. Something flickers behind Edward's eyes. He wasn't expecting that answer. You're a natural. Edward's smile is turned all the way up again. The company I represent produces films for the overseas market. We'll provide you with an apartment and a generous salary. Edward says the words like he practiced them a lot in front of a mirror. She's beginning to suspect this is the first time he's ever tried to do this thing he's planning to do. That might be better, might be worse. Francie can't decide. Naked, right? Francie asks. I have to be naked? Not if you don't want to, Edward says. Do you have a nice dress and high heels? Not really. And by this, Francie means no. She's got zero use for clothes like that. Don't worry about that. Edward unzips the bag and slides out a silver cigarette case. We'll go shopping and get you all the nice things you want. Francie tinkers with the idea of shopping for all the nice things she wants. A really comfy bed might be nice, with silky sheets and puffy pillows, a toaster, a shower curtain, lots of toys for the dogs. Edward opens the case. On one side is a mirror. On the other side there's an elastic holding a glass vial with a black lid, a golden straw that's the exact same color as his car, and a razor blade. Do you like Coke? He unscrews the vial and tips its contents onto the mirror. He taps the mirror with the razor blade. If Edward had done his homework, he would have known that Coke is something rich old people like. Edward seems lost in his fantasy about what a girl like her would want. He has no idea about the real thing. I guess, Francie says. Edward puts the straw to his nose and snorts up one of the lines. He holds the straw out to Francie. She takes it from him and stares at the little mound of white powder. She's pretty sure this will make her sneeze. With her other hand, she takes the silver cigarette case. Go ahead, it won't bite you. Edward's eyes are glassy. He looks excited and happy. Francie drops the straw and grabs the razor blade. In a single smooth gesture, she plunges it behind his ear and drags it around to his Adam's apple. The razor is sharp, sharper than it needs to be. It slices through skin and muscle and veins like the meat had been cooked. Francie jumps up to her feet to avoid the spray. It takes seconds for Edward to realize what has happened. Seconds more for him to convince himself it's true. His hands fly to his wound. Blood bubbles through his fingers. He seems disoriented and panicked. Probably the effects of the coke. Words spill from his mouth, but they don't make sense. He's not going to get any of the things he's asking for. He stumbles to his feet, then to the stairs. He leaves a mess like the old carpet in all its years of service has never seen. Francie goes into the bathroom and washes her hands. She listens to Edward over the hum of the dryers from the laundromat below. The apartment is really starting to warm up now that the sun is rising in the sky. Edward's stream of incoherent words sputter to a stop. He ceased rattling the door that won't open no matter how hard he tries. He falls with a thud. The only sound is the hum of the dryers. Francie unzips the bag. Inside, there's a point-and-shoot camera. A dildo twice as big as any penis ever needed to be. A roll of duct tape and several zip ties. It's not proof that he's a bad guy, but it's close enough. The exact same thing about Francie that caught Edward's eye is exactly the thing that will keep her free. Francie gathers up Edward's money, rolls it in bundles and stuffs it in her boots until no more will fit. She peels back the plastic on her ID and takes out the picture. The actual picture of the real Francie McClure looks back at her, as ordinary as any driver's license photo ever. She tosses the ID into Edward's open briefcase and throws in a pair of panties for good measure. She doesn't take anything with her because she doesn't have anything to take. Maybe Edward never once did the thing that the girl is 100% certain he'd been planning to do. Maybe he was just working up his nerve to get going. Or maybe he'd done it a lot and caused a whole bunch of kids to never get to do all the things they wanted. Girls who never would get the chance to grow up or have a dream come true or even get a dog. She makes her way down the stairs, avoiding the mess Edward made, and spins the dials on the combination lock. When she steps through the door and out into the parking lot, the haze has grown even heavier, but it still hasn't started to rain. The gold car with the pearly paint sits in the laundromat parking lot, looking so out of place that it's sure to draw attention to itself before long. It won't take much to find old Edward once they locate the car. "Hey, brown dog," the girl calls out. The brown dog with the gray muzzle lopes over and she scratches him behind his ear. The girl reaches into her pocket and pulls out the meat from the taco she saved for him. The brown dog gobbles up the conejo, whatever that might be, and wags his tail. The girl waits for a break in the traffic. The brown dog stands at her side. Together they sprint across all the lanes and begin the long journey to the next town and the next town. and the next.